led the king, and that's him just, greeting those in tower there. This Uhuru Gardens was done by the Kenya. That's James Cleverly, actually, the Secretary for Foreign Affairs in the UK. This was done by the Kenya Army. And there's a lot of Kenyan history stored there, but there are missing parts of that history, like Arnold and Daktari say, that probably need to be retrieved from London or other parts of the United Kingdom to come back to the country, so that they help the country in shaping its history. That's Minister Aden Duale, the CS4 Defense. Of course, he's here in the capacity that the Kenya Defense Forces are the ones manning Uhuru Gardens since it was handed over to them. And you see the Army Chief, or rather the Kenya Defense Forces Chief, that is General Francis Omondi Ogola, also there, the First Lady, and other officials of the government as we await the arrival of the King. The sitting arrangement in the car, that Land Rover carrying the King, was quite interesting. The Queen is in the front seat, then the King takes the back seat. Ladies first. Aaron says it is a typical thing of ladies first, then men. Okay, quite interesting. And I think it is also important that probably if you get a UK official to explain such an arrangement to us, because it's not normal. Particularly for us, we see the President and the First Lady on the back seat, so that they exit from different doors when they are exiting. But never before have we seen,
But again, there's another thing that was unique.
Yeah.
Is that the aid is not in the vehicle. They're using a different vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means that vehicle is purely for the King and the Queen and the driver. So probably if there is someone else seated on the other side, could be just maybe the assistant, what do you call the support person for the King, or which may not be there. But the two aides for the King and the Queen was picked with by another Land Cruiser.
Yes.
Yes, as he calls it.
Hold that thought. Let's link up with our team at Uhuru Gardens. Regina Manyara is there. Over to you, Team Uhuru Gardens.
Well, thank you, John Jacob Keurig. Yes, we're coming to you live from the Uhuru Gardens Memorial Park. Any minute from now, we're expecting President William Ruto, who's going to be leading this special entourage to this particular historic gardens here. When we talk about the Uhuru Gardens Memorial Park, it is just that. Kenya's history is etched right here. And what you can see behind you, and from now, President William Ruto, accompanied by their majesties, that is King Charles III and his Queen Camila, are going to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unnamed or unknown warrior, if you like. This particular place where we're standing at, this is where I would say our history culminated, now that we are referred to as the Republic of Kenya. 60 years back, just a few months away to marking our 60th anniversary of independence on December 1963, the Union Jack went down and bright flag went up, symbolizing the birth of a nation, so it were. But it did not come easy. It did not come on a silver platter. It is said around 10,000 people under the Mau Mau resistance actually lost their lives. But that is what is said. And it has been written by historians alike, including Gulag, who takes back and looks back at Kenya's history and the quest for independence. 10,000 may just be scratching the surface. And since his announcement, that's the announcement by Buckingham Palace, that King Charles and the Queen Camila are going to be making their way to Kenya, it has caused a lot of conversation, and some quarters say that they are expecting that King Charles is going to actually, speak and give direction in regard to atrocities met on those who resisted the British colonial rule. Trip down memory lane in 1952, that's when Britain declares its state of emergency and had to move Sir Evelyn Baring all the way from Malaysia to Kenya to quell the uprising. It did not just affect, those in the mountains, as we refer to them, Gema, that is a Gikuyu, Ameru, as well as Ambians and Akamba. But predominantly in Kenya's history, Kikuyus have, or rather the Kikuyu tribe has been termed as one of those who led in the resistance. But this is not the case per se. We also had the Nandis who resisted, and until recently I did not know, JJ, that even the Kissis have claimed that they resisted the invasion of the white man. But today we are here 60 years on, and we have King Charles III and his queen in the country, and any moment from now, led by President William Ruto, as well as Chief Justice, a lady, Martha Koome, are going to be laying wreaths there in honor of the sacrifices for those who did not only pay by their sweat, but also their blood, the tomb of the unknown warrior. And there's a lot of activity there. My cameraman is going to pan and just give you a feel of what is happening. Remember, we model our way, or rather our governance is modeled under our former colonizers, that is the British. And what they do is seemingly what we are going to be witnessing here. And other than just looking at the guard that is waiting to, for the president as well as their majesties to walk to the tomb here, we're also having flying high is the Kenyan flag, the British flag, and the flag of the Commonwealth nations. It is in blue and yellow, as well as the Kenya Defence Forces flag. This particular memorial park went through refurbishment to look as it is, and it has located actually on Langata Road. The park contains 3 monuments, including the fig tree or Mogumo tree, as well as the 20th anniversary monument and the 25th anniversary monument. We have various camera persons who are stationed strategically in these 3 areas, because we understand after their majesties actually there is a plaque. They're just opening up the plaque. It's a ceremony. It's an official ceremony there to show that indeed they were here. And this particular visit also by the king is also meant to cement Kenya and Britain's bilateral trade ties there. It has been referred to in other quarters.
Your Majesty, Your Excellency, sir, we are honored to receive you on this historic day, on these historic grounds. Shortly, we shall have the unveiling of a commemorative plaque, which will be followed by a laying of wreaths at the tomb of the unknown warrior. The laying of wreaths shall be preceded by the last posts, 1 minute of silence, and the last volley. Now, the unveiling of the commemorative plaque.
No, no. You will go into the museum gallery. You can.
Taking place here, and that was the laying of the wreath by President William Ruto and King Charles III in commemoration and honor of all those who lost their lives in the quest for independence. Several activities are also going to take place. We have the King and his entourage is going to tour the museum there that also has, various individuals who in one way or another played an impactful role in Kenya's quest for independence. We're talking about Mekatilili Wamenza as well. And this tour, he's not just going to do this tour alone, he's also going to be accompanied by Queen Camila and other dignitaries, including the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua, the Chief of Defense here, as well as Lady Justice Martha Koome, those who have made their way here. After that, the King and his entourage is also expected to go to view, or rather to where the Mugumo tree was. Remember, this is also an iconic feature of Uhuru Gardens Memorial Park. So we have stations in strategic places where we're going to give you step by step as the King makes his way through this particular park. And we also understand that taking this tour of the museum, he's not going to do it alone. He's also going to be accompanied by children who, have been allowed to participate in this auspicious occasion here. It is also, people have asked, will the King actually be making his address? Well, the King is not going to be making his address at the Uhuru Gardens Memorial Park, just doing that official tour of the facility that is very quite iconic in the preservation of Kenya's history. And then later, we are moving to the city Shamba. This is run by Mama Lucy Hospital. It is a project that is supported by the British government, and we're going to be learning the impact of it and how much indeed probably is going to be invested more in this particular project. And just to take you away, just to remind you that we also had a minute of silence before we actually saw the laying of the wreath there by President William Ruto and his counterpart King Charles III in honor of all those who lost their lives in Kenya's quest for independence. What you're seeing right now is the iconic tomb of the unknown warrior, representing all those who lost their lives during Kenya's quest for independence, at a time when Kenyans, especially Mau Mau veterans and their beneficiaries, are waiting with bated breath to hear if indeed King Charles is going to give away in the fast tracking of reparations so that they can put what was wrong to rights. Will it be delivered during this 4-day tour? We are here for it. For now, this is just how it looks after President William Ruto and King Charles III lay their wreath and now taking a tour before heading to City Shamba, a project that is supported by the British government. We take you back to Broadcasting House. I'm Regina Manyara.
Thank you very much, Regina. At the Langata concentration camp, now known as Uhuru Gardens. Obviously, one would say this used to be a center of atrocities committed by the colonizer or the British government then against Kenyans. And therefore, it's quite an interesting return, or we would say an interesting visit by the king to Uhuru Gardens. Question is, and starting with you, Isaac, will this provide the deep understanding the king seeks about the atrocities committed by Her Majesty's government or His Majesty's government then?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of reflection on what their government was made of then. Definitely, these were his grandparents, their grandparents, and they know very well whatever they did as a government then is reflected on the current heroes or the people they call the fallen soldiers. But one thing I know that is not in the mind of the king, or rather the colonist, is that when we are talking about the fallen soldiers, we are not talking about the Mau Maus, we are not talking about freedom fighters, we are talking about the colonists who are suppressing and occupying the people's land, and in that process they were killed, they lost their life, and they were buried here. And therefore, I think the memory for them is to remember their fallen soldiers. But again, people sometimes, diplomatic corps will say at this point in time, they are reflecting on both the freedom fighters as well as the oppressors, who, one way or another, had specific role.
History has to focus on
exactly.
both.
Yeah, that both of them were playing significant role. One was fighting for his space. The other one was occupying the space of that particular person. Therefore, when we reflect on that, I guess for us as Kenyans, our take is that the people who are our heroes, the people who are fallen, the soldiers who are fallen, were the freedom fighters. But again, the king is there, lumsumly taking both of them. That means then there's a window of mercy in terms of the whole exercise, in that when this aspect of event comes, each and every person will pull from the angle where he understands best and how it presses it. And therefore, for those of us who are celebrating today with the king here, we are celebrating our freedom fighters. Okay. And for those who are on the other side celebrating today with the king here, probably in UK and other places, they are celebrating their fallen soldiers who are the colonists. Therefore, I think the important aspect here is a symbolic that we recognize the fact that there was something which has not gone well with all the society, and therefore in remembering of this, I think it will start a bit of healing process for both families of those soldiers who were brought here and died here for the occupation, and of course those heroes who are freedom fighters.
All right. Of course, this is a concentration camp. I would assume that some of the people lying there are obviously victims of the brutality meted against them by the British government then. But I'm just wondering, this amount of time that he spent